Now, as we know, on this channel, sometimes I don't mind being a little bit controversial. But I genuinely don't know if people are going to like this opinion or not like this opinion, or whatever they're going to think. But for me, I think Sacha Dhawan, as the Master, should be the Master for RTD2. Depending on how long RTD2 lasts. I don't think this is going to happen, but if the bloke decides to stay with the show for like 10 years, yes, eventually we should probably see another take on the Master. But if it's only going to last for a few seasons, I want to see Sacha Dhawan return as the Master. Like I said, I genuinely don't know if that's a controversial opinion. First of all, let's openly address it. Sacha Dhawan is, for me, my favourite modern Master. And I understand that part might be controversial because big lovers of the Capaldi era really resonate with Missy. I am less of a fan of the Capaldi era than average, and therefore Missy just doesn't happen to resonate with me quite as much. And obviously I do quite like John Sim, just as I like Michelle Gomez, but I personally think Sacha Dhawan really finds this fantastic balance for the Master. Because what it means to be a modern incarnation of the Master has become quite defined, but there's different ways of doing it. Because as the Master, you kind of have to have that unhinged quality, but also be clever and calculated, yet, you know, there's all these qualities that you've got to bring to the performance. I think for me, while I really enjoy John Sim, sometimes his Master just ended up being a little bit too crazy for me. You know, I really didn't need to see John Sim being a superhero, jumping about and eating people with his skull lighting up. Wasn't what I was looking for personally. And then obviously you've got Michelle Gomez, who I think in series 10 is really fantastic. But obviously that's mainly because Michelle Gomez and like Missy as a character goes on an arc to kind of like become a better person, Time Lord. So within itself, that works, but in terms of a Master performance, it doesn't really fit with the mould of what the Master should be going forward. Because guess what? Every 5 years we can't do a The Master Goes Good storyline. Sacha Dhawan, for me, just gives a fantastic performance. He's got this madness that John Sim had, but it feels more real. It feels like it comes from somewhere. And he also does the very clever and like calculated side incredibly well, and it makes for a fantastic balance. And if you like the smaller and more emotional stuff that Missy did, you've kind of got some of the scenes in Power of the Doctor that really show Sacha Dhawan's strengths as, you know, doing these quieter moments. He's such a good actor. So that's an explanation why I personally like Dhawan as my favourite modern Master. Apart from Derek Jacobi, who I would so have murdered for Derek Jacobi just to stay on as the Master. Not that I dislike John Sim, but that Master is perfect. He's so good! But why should his Master stick around? Personally, I don't feel like we gained enough of him. Because you're there thinking, what? We got him in Spyfall Part 1, Spyfall Part 2, the Sideman two-parter, and Power of the Doctor. That's more appearances than John Sim had, right? Okay, let's break that down. Spyfall Part 1 doesn't count because he wasn't the Master until the end. You only really have Spyfall Part 2 for examples of his Master. Obviously he appears at the end of Ascension of the Cybermen. I'm not counting that because he's there for 2 seconds. And whatever your opinions are on the Timeless Child arc, the Timeless Children is not a good Sacha Dhawan appearance. Or not a proper one at least. Mainly because the episode is just really spent with Dhawan monologuing to the Doctor about what happened. Sorry, I'm not letting exposition be counted as a proper Dhawan experience. And then obviously, I'm gonna count Power of the Doctor. But I only think we've had 2 good appearances. Spyfall Part 2 and Power of the Doctor. And the end scene of Spyfall Part 1 is pretty incredible. Honestly, that scene brought me so much love for Dhawan alone because he nails that. He legitimately nails that scene. So by that logic, I think we deserve more Dhawan appearances. I also think it would be cool to see a Master span multiple Doctors. Obviously, RTD and Moffat wrote for 2 Doctors, but 9 didn't get Sim and 11 didn't get Missy. To see a Master span multiple eras of the show and different Doctors and interact with different Doctors, I think could be really cool. Just as we had Anthony Ainley for practically the second half of the classic era. Not saying I want Sacha to stay around that long, But that really worked well in that era, and why can't it work well in the modern era? We should probably stop calling it the modern era. We should probably just call it the era. Next up, I think it would unite the fandom. Well, at least a little bit. There are two big sides to the fandom at the moment, the people that are really supportive of RTD and that coming through, and people who are really supportive of Chibnall and not really supportive of what's coming through. And there are some people who cross between these. But what this does could help sow some bridges. Sow some bridges? Do you sow a bridge? I think most RTD fans wouldn't mind seeing this version of the character come back, because I think he was very popular in the role and one of the things people liked about the Chibnall era the most. And obviously, Chibnall fans would be happy seeing this character come back. I think Power of the Doctor brought this master a lot of new fans, especially with a lot of the Rasputin stuff. I think this is a very popular master, and I think both sides would be happy with this, therefore keeping a large majority of fans happy. Which obviously you kind of want to do. You kind of want to keep fans happy, so they might do it. And finally, I know some people are worried because they want the master to take a bit of a break. Personally, for me, Daleks and Cybermen, please, sod off, take a break. The Master, I think because the Master is played by a human actor fully, and you can have more emotions, and you can just do more stories and bring in other monsters, I personally like the Master sticking around. But it's not like I'm talking Series 14, Dhawan has to be there. If RTD has other plans, he can go do other things with other monsters and this and that. But when the Master comes back, and let's face it, the Master will come back at some point in Series 15 or 16 or a special, I'd like it to be Dhawan. So if you're right about the Master not having a break, I still don't feel like he could appear in Series 14, so you will get that break. And also, if he does come back, I'm not saying John Sim and Michelle Gomez can't come back, because another multi-Master story, I wouldn't say no to, just with more Masters, because the fact that there was a multi-Master story with only 2 of them, thank you very much for watching. What are your opinions on Sacha Dhawan? Let me know in the comments below. Also, what I think would be a really cool idea is if you want to see other castings of who I think would be a really cool master. Or Missy. If you want that, let me know in the comments. And subscribe. Because you've gotten to the end of the video. Come on, do me that favour. And in a similar video to this, I kind of explained why River Song shouldn't ever appear in the show again, for me. You wanna click it? Look at that. You like hearing about Sacha Dhawan? You like hearing about Alex Kingston? Whoa!